You're listening to the Karmic Mirror podcast, where we explore the wisdom tucked within the layers of the self-help world.
Together, we bridge the gap between esoteric teachings and practical tools for everyday life, with self-love and personal growth at the heart of each conversation.
Whether you're a seasoned seeker or just beginning your path, join us and uncover the magic within and around you.
Hello, Karmic Mirror listeners. Welcome to a really beautiful topic we have planned today, the inner glow, redefining beauty holistically. Today, we're going to be talking about what holistic beauty means beyond conventional beauty standards. And we have what I like to deem as an expert on the mic today. And by expert, I mean my beautiful podcast co-host, Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, everyone.
So Michelle has, since I've known her, really been my go-to when I want to understand more about not only beauty practices, but what I started to uncover is that Michelle's approach really was more holistic when she's talking about not only product recommendations, but life recommendations. So really, we're diving into what it means to approach beauty from the inside out today, from glowing skin to healthy hair to cultivating a sense of inner peace and nourishment that radiates with vitality. So we hope that this conversation really feels like a cozy conversation between friends and gives you a chance to really pause and think about how beauty shows up in your life. I would love to really start the conversation. One, Michelle, share a little bit about your background in the beauty industry because I find it really fascinating and really relevant from your approach on holistic beauty. And after that, share in your words, what is holistic beauty when we think about that?
Okay, so my experience my in the beauty industry started when I was a little wee baby of, I don't know, maybe 20 years old. So almost 20 years ago now. And I started on the total, I would say, like opposite end of our conversation today, completely from a makeup artist, beauty on the outside approach. And I started my career as a makeup artist. Well, learning to be a makeup artist back in the day at good old MAC Cosmetics, which I think you'd have to be living under a rock to not remember old school Mac days, and I'm sure it's still really a thing. But that was kind of the place you went to get your makeup done, and it was this really incredible life-changing experience to get thrown into this world of people who were working makeup artists, were professional makeup artists, and
That was kind of like the evolution. It
it
was,
was,
you had like Clinique. I remember my sister taking me to try on different lipsticks for the first
yes,
time. It was like Clinique, and MAC was this disruptor. It was the trendy, it was the
super.
new age, it was the cool, you're walking by anyone, they're still there. You walk
So they
by
yeah.
in any of the retail big stores like Macy's and that, and you can hear Mac, you can see it, you can pick it out.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Disruptor is like the exact word because, and it was just so cool. I mean, of course, I'm a very feminine kind of gal, and I've always loved makeup, but I grew up with my dad. And so my first experiences with makeup in general were sneaking like black eyeliner to fill in my eyebrows for my non-black hair, my dark brown hair, but truly my sister and my mom lived in California and I grew up in Alaska. So my so I didn't have a lot of guidance. My dad was also really hardcore about natural, like not wearing makeup, no shaving your legs, not cutting my hair. So interestingly enough, of course, my upbringing was really rooted in this natural approach to beauty. But of course, what do you do when that's your upbringing? You go for the exact opposite. And so I started working at Mac, and I honestly was like lucky. And I really believe, of course, we totally create our luck, but it was very lucky that I happened to go into this Mac store, and I was going to the store all the time. And finally, one of the managers was like, you know what? You should just you should try to work here. And um, it, I did, and it totally changed my life. And so from there, I just went through all of these different roles within the beauty industry from the retail side, and I got into luxury. And, you know, before pre-pandemic, I was running beauty departments, and I've opened stores literally across the country from Las Vegas to New York to California. I've opened a ton of stores and basically like built beauty teams for a good chunk of my career. And some of that was a lot of training, but in the beauty, from, in the beauty industry, whether it was makeup techniques, training, opening spas, things like that, but always from the outside in. And everything was for me for so long was about layering the makeup, and I still have such a love for that, but it's totally, I kind of evolved to be, I think, looking at makeup and the external as both enhancing and also as like self-expression and finding your own style versus being something that I need to rely on to feel good about myself, to feel really beautiful. And it wasn't until I started getting into coaching, of course, coaching, which all of that, I mean, we've talked about in past episodes, but it was like that whole shift happened of getting into, you know, coaching, getting into holistic nutrition, getting into manifestation work and more spiritual practices, meditation, breath work, all of that for me, anyways, happened all within the same year.
Mhm.
And of really diving into all of that. And then it was my holistic nutritionist course that started to really open up this conversation of beauty from the inside out. I'd be lying if I said that, pandemic era of not wearing makeup every day. I went from working in a beauty department where, in luxury where I wore heels every day on a marble floor and, full face and was always done up for work. And then, we all went through kind of that same where we all bought sweatpants and lived in them and then didn't wear makeup, where I started to get super comfortable with what I look like without my outer
Appreciate.
layers. Yeah. And just starting to really fall back in love with, with my skin and starting to think about, and I don't think I'm alone in this. I think a lot of people started to shift into, okay, now that I'm more barefaced, how do I feel really good? What do I need to do? And of course, coming from the beauty and retail beauty industry, we're always looking at products first. And I've started to just unravel this narrative of like what it means to buy beauty products. Everyone always asks for recommendations and things like that. And I come from a background where we had sales goals. So we were selling you on the serum for this, the serum for that, the nighttime, the daytime, plus layer on the cream to lock it in. Plus, you need the eye cream and you need the retinol and you need this, right? And then you need the services on top of it or the devices. And I mean, I could go on for days because there are so many ways to unpack this, whether we talk about hormones, we talk about nutrition, all of it, but it all plays a role. And I think when you ask, what's holistic beauty? What does it even mean? It truly is approaching beauty. And I mean, all things beauty from the way you feel, the way you look, to all of the way you present yourself, all of that from a truly like inside out perspective and approach and more so from that mind, body, spirit kind of approach of everything that you take in, whether it's the food that you take in, the way you take care of your body, to the way that you think about yourself, your inner dialogue, all of those things play a role in your beauty. And so you can buy all of the most expensive products in the world and you can buy all the things, but unless you're really working on those inner layers, those are quick fixes. Those are temporary, balms to a deeper layer of something that could really become a beautiful relationship with yourself. And over time show in your skin, in how you feel, and all of that. The way like I always think about like the way I stand, the way I walk into spaces feels different.
Two thoughts there. One, I was like, go get it, girl. Is she quoting TLC?
Oh
You
my
found
gosh,
I'm
yes.
pretty.
Think about all
That's
the
where you were
makeup that
started.
man
I was
can
like,
make.
get it, girl. And then two, just how your journey has really led you, I think, to this space of being really super knowledgeable. And one thing that I really appreciate about you is really marrying the realities of that holistic journey and also just being a woman. And I love how you said creativity and makeup and wanting to look good and the external definitely has a place in holistic beauty. But I
100%.
was absolutely thinking about when you were sharing your journey, the duality again of almost the extremes of how you grew up with none of the external accessible
Hmm.
to you and then jump into this world where it's all the external and then having the lens of people selling you products and learning about all of these products and
Yeah.
the ingredients in them has really set you up to be in this space as someone that I really, really respect. And it's like if Michelle says it, I do it, or I try my best to do it because I just know that you're coming from a place and you also practice what you preach and you do
Yeah.
a lot of those things. So let's get into we talk about like mind, body, spirit, and holistic
Yeah.
beauty. Yeah. So the mind, let's talk about the mind and how that relates to holistic beauty.
Yeah. Well, everything is so, so connected. And well, I will say this about my time in beauty, just working in that environment is, first of all, it is one of the, and I love like great product. I mean, I literally was micro needling my face last night with the plump jelly from Moon Juice, which I love, and microneedling with, a device that I have at home. So I am not a stranger to using product
Are
and
you
loving it.
using, is it actually needles or is it like the derma roller?
It is, but it's like a 0.05 or zero point 0.5, I think is whatever the smallest amount that you can get outside of with like
Professional.
a esthetician.
Yeah.
And so it's not really, really deeply penetrating, but it is helping the product go deeper into the skin. And so I'm not a stranger to product, and I love sharing the ones that I love. I kind of have this rule of thumb: if I would spend my money on it now, knowing that I'm not getting a discount or getting it thrown at me, which is what it made me think of this, is then it's usually worth it for me anyways because I would buy it. But I say all that because the beauty industry is just, oh my God, the waste is so out of control, the overconsumption. And again, maybe that's just a product of the time that we're living in and a whole other soapbox, but I can hear my garbage company outside behind me. So, anyways, we'll disregard that. But I have gotten products thrown at me for years while working in beauty, and it's just mind blowing the amount of free product. And I'm not alone in this. Anyone who works in the beauty industry will tell you, I mean, the things that you get for free. And so you try all of the things and you start to realize there's so much more. And I think that's where I always say, like, towards the end, I feel like I got really jaded because I was like, okay, here we are selling someone another thing that I don't really actually believe they need. Yet we need to make a goal. So there was like this, like, such friction that really made me want to move totally opposite again out of that world because it just felt so disingenuous and it felt so like we were selling to people, which is such a this is like a hot button for me, is selling to people's fears, selling to people's insecurities. That makes me really uncomfortable. And that's where I think it got in so many ways because I mean, look how much money the beauty industry makes in general and how many brands there are. And honestly, I mean, you can pretty much trace back to major companies that own all of these brands. And so at what point does one company own every brand? And so anyways, I say all that because it's just really interesting to think about. And it is like, again, takes me back to inner work, to the world of, self-betterment and coaching and all of the things, or wellness or whatnot, because you really have to be your own authority and know what works for you because it's really easy to get sold on a lot of things. And sometimes we just like things. That's okay too. But anyways, so thinking about this kind of multi-layered perspective of that mind, body, spirit approach to beauty. So our minds are literally the foundation of how we speak to ourselves, how we think about ourselves. So, our self perception and our own inner dialogue or inner thoughts, our negative thoughts or otherwise. And so, how much we perceive beauty, where our our self worth is, this is all happens in the mind. And so when we think of beauty, it's of course, it's like the first thing we think about are those physical aspects of looking at ourselves in the mirror, looking at ourselves in pictures, all of that. Um, but it's really the way we talk to ourselves, it's the way we think about ourselves, it's our perception of what is beautiful, which can be societally influenced, I think. And
Mhm.
so thinking about
You think, or we know?
we know.
We know. We
And
know.
that changes over
Yeah.
time, which is also, which for me, like the more I learned about it, the more I dug into, different things that were what was considered beautiful over different generations. That starts to help you unpack that narrative and starts to give you more perspective of like, oh, okay, I see. At this point in time, this is what was
Marilyn
considered
Monroe,
beautiful. Yeah, like, you
curvy,
know,
voluptuous.
absolutely. That's the Renaissance era. And the Renaissance era, it was blonde curls with beautifully voluptuous, but not too voluptuous, right? Like it was, you look at all of these paintings, look at all the Botticelli paintings and all of the other Renaissance artists, and that was really beautiful. And I always talk about like in the 1920s, women were very thin, first of all, depression, right, era, but also think about the roaring 20s. What was that look? It was like flappers with those dresses that just kind of like hung off the body. It was like super thin eyebrows.
I know, follow eyebrow trends. Like, even if
That
you don't want
alone.
to talk
Yeah.
about body image, bodies, just look at eyebrows throughout the
Don't look at eyebrows. Don't
years.
look at mine.
Specifically,
Just kidding.
don't look at my eyebrows in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, that's the truth of it too, is like what is perceived as beautiful evolves over time societally. And so even more reason to work on your mindset and what the way and really pay attention to the way you talk about yourself, the way you think about yourself, and start to deconstruct that because literally your mind is either going to be your biggest supporter or it's going to be your harshest critic. And applies to everything. But in this conversation about beauty is so true. I have this thing that's like weirdly drilled into my memory that someone said to me when I was like really, really young. And I'm really grateful that they did, but I have no idea. I don't even remember. I was so young and then I remember just like really hating my nose. I mean, among other things, right? Was this the story of our lives? It's like the movie Mean Girls when they're in the mirror and they're like, my nail beds suck, or all the things. But this woman told me when I was really young, probably one of my dad's many girlfriends, said, I'd rather have my nose than anyone else's. And I don't know what about that just drilled into my memory. And so after that point, I would start to think about those words. And over time, like I grew up to be like, okay, also, yes. When I see someone else's nose that looks so cute and I'm like, "Oh, that's beautiful," and I start to feel the feelings of envy, that voice is in my head going like, "Yes, and also I'd rather have my nose than anyone else's because it's
Love
made for
that.
my face. Regardless of what I think or feel about it, it was made specifically for my face. And there's nothing else that's going to fit better and also if you get work done, that's beautiful too, right? Like you do you and you do what you need to do. There's no judgment on any of it. That's just my story. And when I think about harshest critic, biggest supporter, if I had not had those words reminding me every time I started to feel whatever feelings came up when I looked at myself and felt like, oh, I don't like this part of my face, then yeah, I could see where maybe I might feel a lot differently today.
Well, and there's that whole piece of, speaking of the environment you're around and things you hear, especially when we're young and impressionable, and understanding that children, and I know we're focusing probably a little bit more on the feminine divine today because we are women, and the words we speak and how we speak about our bodies and when children are around. And my example is the women in my family, always the arms. I have such
Yeah.
fat arms. I hate my arms.
Mm,
And like you, during COVID, we really got a chance to look inward. And those were some of the things that I started really focusing on, was how I speak to myself and
yeah.
why have I always hated my arms? And like you, there was it can be really, really little things. I was at my best friend's house. I was one of my best friends. I was over at her house all the time. I would go there before school every morning, and she had older siblings. And I remember her older siblings, one of her sisters had a girlfriend over, and they were doing something with my friend who was always like really tiny, like maybe throwing her or something. And one of them made a comment, no, we can't do that with Allie because she's too big. Now, I don't think at 5, I know at 5, I
Yeah.
wasn't a chunky or any of those things or overweight. I was very healthy, but that narrative crept up my whole
Totally.
life to, I mean, I look back at pictures when I was in college and like right after college, and I was so skinny. And I remember thinking back to looking at pictures, and my group of girlfriends, we had a lot of really petite, short, very, very skinny, and I've always had a more athletic build. And I'm 5'7", so a little bit taller for women. And looking at pictures of my friends and I, being like, "You're the big one. Look how
Mm,
like big you are in
yeah.
that picture." And I think that was the shift of my mentality during
Yeah.
COVID, because I looked back at that picture. I literally thought, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, I would
Yeah.
die to have that body now. And
Sure.
you thought you were the fat friend. So
Oh
again,
my
for
gosh.
me, the role I now try to take on, especially when there are little ones around, is being really mindful of how I'm talking about my body. Even just the other day, my
100%.
best friend's two little girls, one's 2, one's 5. I can't throw the 5-year-old up in the air, but I had like the same moment where she's like,
Wow.
Auntie Allie, like, let me do this. And I just immediately thought, like, you can't throw her, but do not say she's too big. Find something else fun you can do with her that's like
Yeah.
lifting her up so that you don't repeat what happened to you. It's
Yeah.
just very interesting. And that kind of came up when you were talking about your dad's girlfriend in the nose.
Yeah. Well, think about those thoughts weren't in your mind before someone said something to you, right?
Hmm.
Like we aren't, we're not born thinking all of these horrible things about our body. We don't, or our face or whatever it is. We don't even think about those things until somebody brings it to your attention and it's totally whatever their perception, projection, whatever is going on at that time. But it's just all the more reason to think about like truly the mind aspect of it is the foundation, just like anything else. It starts with our mindset because we have to start catching those thoughts in the moment and shifting in the moment and just continuing to practice it over and over with so much grace. But it's true because oh my gosh, I can think of so many moments growing up where things were said and it wasn't ever on my radar. Oh my gosh, we won't get into it, but there are numerous times, right? And you just think like, okay, I didn't realize that about myself, but now you told me, and now I guess that's true. And now I'm
Yeah.
going to grow up and I'm going to have this insecurity and it's going to show up, right? It's like I always think about the extra little cushion that we have as women or that we can have as women, not all, but around our uterus, that lower belly, right? There's a real, I think, discredit to the way that we educate people on this of what is considered natural and what is considered unhealthy. And we just don't do enough of like it's just, yeah, there's so much in that conversation. And it's true. It's like, but to the point of stopping it, of what you can do. And I think it's really important to just bring that into the conversation too. Like for me, a lot of it was doing I say manifestation work, but truly like it's more about the unblocking, it's more about the uncovering and making conscious those unconscious thoughts and limiting beliefs. And it doesn't have to always be towards like your personal growth on the professional or whatever plane. It can truly be about beauty. What are those thoughts when you hear them? I put in the notes, the kind of advice of like when you hear that thought, is that what you would say to a friend? Like stopping yourself. Would I say this to someone that I love dearly? Would I say that to them? Or whatever it is, right? Whatever the thing that helps you pause and reframe that thought. My friend Amador always uses the one of like, is this the truth? could I go to court and could I like really argue that this is the truth? Would I win this case kind of thing? And I'm like, yeah,
I
I could
love
apply that to everything. Like, um, and it's so, so important. So,
And not only to mention, just one last thing, is that these perceptions and these things we have in our mind, our bodies are all built so different. And
mhm,
to have these mentalities where quite literally some of these physical goals are unattainable. I had a friend one time tell me her goal, she really wanted like that middle cut in her stomach and like her high stomach, right? Like the definition, just the line down the middle. She just that was her goal. And if you Google how to get that, what you will find, some people's bodies will never have that. The way their body is made, you'll never have that. And so
yeah,
you think about these standards or these goals of where I'm not saying that those types of goals aren't great to have, but when we're thinking about the holistic, it's why do we want that? And
yeah.
what I'll share just to like wrap up the whole arm thing and the strength thing. I mean, have worked out 7 days consistently for decade, right? And I really saw a shift in my arms and my core when I started shifting my mentality about how I spoke about myself and my perception of those body parts. And so that's what I would add to that. And I know we're moving on to body, but anything else lingering in your brain to share about the mind and holistic beauty?
No, I think that's so perfect because I think the goal, just overarching goal of the holistic approach, especially when we talk about the mind, is getting to a place where you can genuinely accept and maybe even start to love the parts of yourself that are truly made for you, that are so unique. Like we have this one body. We
Mhm.
have this one body we get to do life with in this lifetime. And we may never experience this, right? Like I may never experience life as Michelle again, and I may never even remember this lifetime or whatever it is, right? We don't know. Um, and so I cannot imagine that we were, again, like I want to I try to be like really gentle and conscious about it because I think that um I think you can do whatever the hell you want to do with your body,
Yeah.
and it's none of my business. And I can do the same. And also, how beautiful it is to just genuinely love what you were born with and what you were given in this lifetime, even the ways that it differs from what we think or we're told is beautiful.
Mhm.
And that can look so many different ways depending, like you said, environments, where you grow up, all the things. And so, it's just super, super important to start to think about that. And if all you do is start to pay attention to the way you talk and think about yourself and you start to notice it, that's really important in itself. If you can start to shift it, start to reframe it, that's a beautiful thing because whether you go on and you do all the things and you change your entire, outer exterior, that's fine. But if you can genuinely be appreciative for this, for what we were given, that's just a beautiful and it's an empowering place to be, I think.
I'm just laughing because
Yeah.
I'll just share real quick. Go to our Instagram. You can see what we look like. But I was thinking about the mentality when I was younger. I have very almond eyes, very, very small eyes, especially when I smile. And my first grade picture, now this is back in the day when we don't have digital photos, right? So remember you had to like wait to see when your pictures came in.
Yeah, and that was your only shot. Those pictures, that was it. There were no well, I think there was a picture day makeup, but there was no like redoing if you didn't like it.
Yeah, and it must have been someone must have said, or people might have commented, just like how you can't see my eyes when I smile. Who
Mhm.
knows? But my first grade picture, I'm literally like bug-eyed. And I remember my mom opening it and not wanting to be mean, but she's like, why did you smile like that? And it's
Oh
back to that
man.
like at some point I must have thought someone said something, so I'm like gonna give this a go, close my eyes.
Oh my
Maybe I'll find
God.
it and post it on social.
Honestly, sometimes those childhood school pictures can be pretty healing. There's one where I have like my two front teeth missing, and I'm so happy. Like in that picture, I'm wearing my white headband. I've got my white turtleneck with a floral embroidered vest. Like I was feeling really cute. No front teeth whatsoever, and I was feeling myself. So like how beautiful, like that's our pure joy of like feeling like good in our bodies. I mean, there's so many we can like that's the beauty of like this self-reflection and the processing, the journaling, however you do it, because you get to go back to these experiences and, look at them from a different point of view, look at them with more grace, with more love for yourself, but also just like recognizing, I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. So let's talk about body.
Yeah.
So Body is all about, in the conversation of holistic beauty, are the tangible things like nutrition, nourishing your body, movement, tuning into the physical needs of your body. And so, this kind of very physical side or more external aspect of beauty, like I said, it's about the food we eat. It's how we move, how frequently we move, how we rest. This is part of that very balanced approach to beauty. And so we can talk about topics like holistic nutrition, right? This is similar. I mean, we say the word holistic a lot, but truly what we mean is just exactly that, holistic. It's a multifaceted approach. It's not looking at anything as there's one cause for everything. It's no, we can look at it from multi layers. And other concepts within this are things like intuitive eating, mindful eating as practices. Any thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, intuitive eating was a big game changer for me with I'm someone who likes to nibble a little bit all day long. I think
Totally.
you eat a little similar to me, but
Yeah, I'm a forager.
yeah, I had a coworker who became an intuitive eating coach, and I just remember one thing she
Mm.
had posted. This was when my mind started to practice more intuitive eating. Was she had done this little post of we all see those ice cream containers. You can have 280 calories in the whole pint of ice cream,
Uh-huh.
or you can do the traditional where it's 280 for one fourth of a cup, right? And the mentality around that, what she had posted was, yeah, you can eat this whole container, but if you're not satisfied, if you're not
Hmm.
fulfilled, then you will keep eating. You'll keep looking for that other thing to fulfill you. And I remember Chandra Rhimes was on Super Soul Sunday, Oprah's show, and she had had a year of yes, and she talked about intuitive eating because in this year of yes, it was basically saying yes to all the things. And she had lost all of this weight, and people kept asking her how she lost weight, and she quite simply said she didn't do that much except like allow herself the things. So she said, I found that if I let myself have the brownie, I and I knew I could have it again because I'm allowing myself to not restrict myself. I would find myself eating one fourth of the brownie and being good with it instead of this mentality of, ooh, I'm just going to let myself eat like this right now. So let me get it all in. And I would eat two brownies or three
Uh-huh.
brownies. And that was a big shift for me because I have quite a sweet tooth and a lot of people are like, "Gosh, do you ever eat?" I'm like, "I eat ice cream almost every night." I don't I
Mhm.
just I don't feel like it really negatively impact maybe internally. I need to look at that, but I love some sweets. But
Yeah.
again, I think recently I haven't been really feeling called to eat that many too. So I'm being like really intuitive about that.
I love that. Yeah. And there are principles within mindful eating too. You can kind of, if you search mindful eating online, you'll see there's some experts and the two women that kind of, I would say, introduce this concept, have some principles within there that are really great. And I think there's some overlap with the intuitive and the mindful, but it's so true. I think about like, talk about the mind. body connection. To me, intuitive eating or mindful eating, so I mean that in the sense of paying attention to your body's natural hunger cues, eating when you're hungry, stopping eating when you're not hungry, right? Like, which is easier said than done for a lot of people because we build up habits and unconscious habits of just eating for other reasons other than
Well, also
hunger.
finish your plate. I mean, did we grow up with finish your plate?
Oh my gosh, I have a really distinct memory of my cousins sitting around the table and being like, "You have this many grains of rice, you need to eat it all." And they would say like, "You eat like a bird," and like it was a bad thing. So it was like I needed to eat faster, which is so counterintuitive actually. But when I think about intuitive or mindful eating, I'm thinking about chewing your food, right? Like there are so many times where I'm eating and I need to just remind myself where I stop and I'm like, chew longer, get those digestive enzymes going so that you can, digest this food a lot better. But also savoring is part of that too. Savoring your food, actually tasting it. And if you want to go really deep into the mindful eating, you're like, okay, savoring it and also feeling, like thinking about where's your food come from. And again, like I think there's a lot of nuance in this conversation too, because we're so privileged, right? Like I live somewhere where I do genuinely have the privilege of chewing my meat and thinking, wow, this came from a farm down the street and how beautiful. And I can sit there with it. And that's a really beautiful blessing. But there are other ways to do it. And it's just I think so much are ingrained in us. But when I think about the mind body connection, when you start to practice these things like intuitive or mindful eating, to me, it feels much more empowering. It feels less. I talk about this a lot, especially with coaching clients. Recently, it's just come up as a theme of like approaching things or life in general or experiences from a place of empowerment versus a place of desperation. And I think eating is one of those aspects where when you're unconsciously like eating, you're, kind of filling this empty hole and you're bypassing your hunger cues. And now we're just eating. And then after you feel disempowered because you're like, why did I just do that? I don't actually feel good. I don't feel, like, what did I eat? Did I take, like there's all of these thoughts
Yeah.
that can come up around it. But I think, it's just really, really such an important role, and not just because, like, of course the holistic beauty conversation when it comes to body and food and nutrition is going to have a lot to do with the types of foods that you eat. And again, I came from the beauty industry where we in two of my last departments that I ran, we launched wellness categories, and we were I think I had the first Barney's department to launch, first beauty department to launch ingestible, like edible beauty, like collagen and adaptogens, things like that. In the country, actually, we launched and so I know that evolution from the beauty industry starting to talk about internal supplements, things like that, that are really, really great, like collagen, and also, again, what happens when we take it into these industries? You over consume, and then the collagen's doing nothing because you're just paying it out. Because no one's educating you on what other nutrients you need to have so that it can absorb into your body. And so we have so much within food without having to go buy an actual product or a powder. There's so much within the food that you can eat in your everyday diet that can contribute. But so much of it is that mental and those unconscious cues. And again, like going back to the mind conversation, when you notice it, or like step one, awareness, right? It's like start to notice your own habits. And then once you notice them, you observe them, you have an opportunity to start to shift them little by little. And that's, holistic beauty is not a quick fix. It's like the long game because you're here to literally feel good in your body for the long term, to have glowing skin, and to also have compassion and grace for the times when your skin isn't or when you aren't feeling so beautiful. That's part of the conversation too. So more things on body, right? Like hydration, so simple, but so necessary. And we were talking about this, like drinking water. It's so wild. And, you can get into the quality of your water and all of those things, but truly hydration. It's like you want glowing skin, you want clear, bright eyes, vitality. You need to be hydrated. I just recently sent my mom and my sister a video from the medical medium, and, I think the lemon water on an empty stomach in the morning, warm lemon water, like I don't know a person that isn't somewhat aware of this, but people are always like, yeah, I have to have warm lemon water. And but I don't know that so many people necessarily know why it's so important. So I thought I'd touch on it on the lemon water. And I love medical medium's way of describing it. So basically, when you drink lemon water or warm lemon water, I mean, obviously, too cold is going to be a little bit of a shock to your system, but to each his own. But when you're drinking that lemon water in the morning, it's going to detoxify your liver, but also other organs in your body and remove toxins from your blood. But you have to do it every day. And the medical medium, the way he describes having that lemon water in the morning, he talks about it as emptying the trash. Because what happens is, and I'm going to talk about this a little because I think it's really cool to bring up the traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic clocks.
No, I love this. Remember we had talked about it, the book I got
Oh,
from V,
yes.
and I've started doing the lemon water, and I kind of slipped from it, and now I'm getting back into it. But I
Yeah.
geek out. So yeah, share more in depth.
100%. So he calls it taking out the trash in the morning because overnight your body is working really hard. Like your liver is working to get everything in order so that you can eliminate it. And that's the other thing. So when you drink that lemon water, it's helping to pull all of those toxins out of your body. It's why it's really important to pay attention to things like the not so glamorous side of beauty, which is like your bowel movements. And why can't I say that without laughing? Because I'm 12. But basically, that's a huge part of it, right? So hydration is really important. Rest is really important. We'll talk about that in movement. But I just want to mention the lemon water because it's super important. One of the main processes of our bodies is the assimilation and elimination, process of our body. And so how regular you are. And there are things that you can do like that don't cost you anything, but just like paying attention to your bowel movements. Do you go within the first hour after waking up? Because that's a good, important signal for you to know, is my liver functioning overnight the way it's supposed to? And am I doing what I need to make sure that I'm eliminating first thing in the morning? It is really, really uncomfortable to eat food, have breakfast, right? We know it's really important to have, food in the morning or have breakfast, but when your liver is full, like you've got to eliminate some things, and that lemon water is what helps you do that. But that assimilation elimination process is really, really it's crucial for how you feel physically and how you look on the outside. So beauty wise. What else? I don't think we're going to get into nutrition, but I am going to put out a blog this week that talks about some of the key nutrients. I might have already shared. So we'll have some resources on the specifics of those things because,
Yeah.
again, everyone is so unique. You've got it. This is why, like, mind body conversation, tuning into your body signals. And that literally, as like, I hate to make things sound so simple, but I think it's really important that we make things simple to start
Yeah.
because it's not like, and we'll talk about this in movement. Like it's not about doing one big whole overhaul in one situation or one scenario or one season of your life and then going back to the regular habits that aren't supportive through the rest of your days. It's like, what are the little things that you can do?
And I think just the uniqueness to everyone,
Yeah.
and I definitely wanted to make sure we plugged your Substack before so we
Yeah.
will tag it in the show notes. But Michelle has been putting out some really beautiful content in the holistic beauty space with links. And I think I told you last time, I was like, I have like 4 links open right now.
I love talking about this
Yeah.
because there's so many layers. And I think that if you try to approach it all at once, it's going to be like anything super overwhelming for any
It's
person.
like our small steps, big goals episode when we talk about micro
Oh,
habits.
we
When you
did do
want
that
to
episode.
overhaul everything, it's not realistic, it's not sustainable. So even just the little things, even just throwing, lemon in some hot water to start the day. And again,
100%.
I think it's important too when we think about body to remember that we're all unique human beings, and what's good for one may not be what's good for the other. And I think about human design, where we know people have different digestions,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
high sound, and others might be do you know what yours is?
My digestion
Yeah.
is alternating no, wait, is that the same? Alternating? That's my appetite. Alternating? I don't know. I got them confused. But either way, yes. But also,
But yeah, there's the different digestion. So it's like high light, high sound. There's a good amount of those, but it's how we best
oh yeah, mine is alternating. Actually, mine's alternating, which is more of like, a little
little
bit of
bits of
this, a
lots of
little bit of that, a little bit of
different.
this, a little bit of that. And that's the same way that we take in information. Um,
Yeah.
but everyone should pay attention to their bowel movements, and everyone should try to have one in the morning.
Yeah, and you can,
That is universal for the most
as
part.
always, go Google it because it's also your bowel movements are and how that comes out is very, without getting into the details, can represent how your health and your insides are working as well. So that was
Totally.
in Megan Swindler's book. I learned a lot about that. So I'll plug her
Yeah.
book
If
again.
you're interested in any of that, like start to go look into what it should look like. I'm not going to say the B word again because otherwise we're going to have to name it our episode after it. But yeah, so super, super important. So these are all aspects of outer beauty. And I know it sounds so abstract, but it's super true. I kid you not. I mean, look at the quality of your skin is so directly correlated to these things. So last thing is, well, is this the last? Oh yeah, we're still talking about body, but we're talking about movement, right? So we touched on this a little bit. But similarly, right? Like you want to give yourself opportunities to sweat, to give your body the chance to do what it naturally needs to do to detox. And sweating is one of those ways, movement, things like that. Um, and again, like whatever that feels like for you. Is it going for a walk every day? Is it gentle stretching? Is it, yin yoga or whatever? Is it dancing? Is it more high intensity? All of those things. I mean, again, I think we touched on this in one of our episodes about the hormones and or about cycle syncing specifically for women or menstruating people, and just really thinking about the different times of the month, what your body needs. I think that's really important. But again, going back to intuitive, tuning into your body. What does your body need? Like, is your body screaming for you to rest and you're because of habit, you're pushing it to work hard and then it's having an opposite effect of what you want, right? Like, so I think that's important. But and lastly, just on the body conversation, rest. Like this is rejuvenation, is proper sleep, and it is so so important because our organs are regenerating. They're doing hard work while we sleep, and so it's super important to give our body that time that it so deeply needs. Um, and that's where I think the conversation on the traditional Chinese medicine, the TCM clock or the Ayurvedic clock, I mean, there are different ancient wisdoms that offer really, really cool insights into this conversation that can take you a little deeper. And so it just depends on where you want to go, what piques your interest, where do you feel called to. But for example, if you're thinking about the traditional Chinese medicine clock, it basically outlines different hours, what different body or what different organs are processing at that different time. So, for example, the liver, this is all about detoxification. This is really active during the early hours of the morning. That's why we need to have that, go to the bathroom in the morning. And so it's really important. So, things like, giving yourself a wind down routine at night is really helpful so that you can start to get that quality rest versus like just like jumping into bed and scrolling or whatever the things are that aren't necessarily, you're not going to get the best quality of sleep and not going to support those natural processes of the body. Okay. So the other thing I was going to touch on, because I want to share this woman that I follow and I get her newsletter, and I think it's really interesting on the TCM conversation, is facial mapping. Have you ever heard of facial mapping?
I have not, and remind me what TCM is again.
Traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
Which also ties into the conversation of acupuncture and
Mhm.
facial mapping. They're all different things, but they're going to draw from traditional Chinese medicine and have some overlap. So,
Yeah.
face mapping is, or you can call it facial diagnosis. This is analyzing specific areas of our face to identify different imbalances in the body. And
Mhm.
so, for some examples, the forehead is often linked to the digestive system. So, when we're talking about beauty, right, like think about about where do you see maybe you're having breakouts, you're having skin issues, dryness, things in different areas of the body. If you were working with a professional traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, or maybe a naturopath, then they might do a facial diagnosis first because it's like such a great it's like an instant way. It's like looking at it's like tongue diagnosis to look at the different what that could possibly be linked to within the body, just like everything is interconnected, right? Like mind, body, spirit, but also like as within, as without. So
And who's the lady we can shout out? What's her name?
yeah, yeah. Her name is Jennifer Tran. On Instagram, you can find her as Akashic Medicine. And she's really cool because she'll do these videos where she'll show different acupressure points in the face that can be linked to different types of hormonal breakouts or other imbalances that could cause issues in the skin. And so, your cheeks. So your cheeks are going to reflect your lung health, and what else? Your chin. This is hormonal balance imbalances. So you can think about, different times of the month, or do you have high cortisol levels? Those are different things that are going to impact the way your skin looks. So on the beauty conversation, but yeah, definitely we'll link her in the show notes because I think she offers some really interesting, cool, like little easy ways to start to connect that information with.
It's the holistic. I remember I've been transparently this when I got back from California and I just started like breaking out. And so of course I'm like, oh, is this environmental? Of course, maybe you
Mm,
weren't taking the best care of your skin. And I remember you and I having the
yeah.
conversation and your first question was, where on your face is it at? And
Yeah, yeah.
this is what I think about holistic beauty is because it gets on my radar of okay, what else could be going on underneath? And
Yeah.
I don't only think about nutrition and things I put in my body, but also I think that that kind of spiritually too, there's different things
100%.
there. So that to me is a total holistic beauty conversation and just like so simplistically when you're like, where on your face is that? And then it leads you to look at
Yeah.
things bigger because why do I keep wanting to quote TLC? I'm like, you can buy all the makeup a man can make.
Because they knew it.
They
They
knew it.
knew.
They knew.
They knew it all along. They always knew they were crazy, sexy,
But
cool.
it was not going
And
to change. It wasn't going to change what
yeah.
was going on with my skin. It needed, I needed a little bit deeper of a look into that.
Yeah. It all brings me back to also just coming at things from a more empowered and just yeah, from a more empowered place. Like to me, if I notice something in my skin that wasn't there before, I can, like you said, like I can think about all the different ways versus like immediately going to like, all the negative thoughts. I'm gonna think, oh, okay, well, what could this be? Did I eat something different? Or what do I need to, right? Like I'm always thinking about these different things that can support my skin and just make me feel really good. Like I want every day to wake up and feel beautiful. I want to feel hot and sexy and gorgeous and all the things all the time. It's not, don't always wake up that way, but I don't feel helpless when I do. I feel knowledgeable because these little tweaks like I can think about. And the other thing is acupuncture. I think we touched on this already in other episodes, but I think that also ties back to the traditional Chinese medicine, and there can be some overlap with face mapping to understand different points. I used to do acupuncture that in my face for different things. And I think I was more of a guinea pig for my acupuncturist to try out all of these skincare treatments. But it was really fascinating to think about that connection.
But I think like whole body too. I know I had shared about
Yeah.
my digestive system. I was really blocked energetically. So when I went to the
Hmm.
acupuncturist, I was like, I'm starving, but I can't eat. Everything feels nauseous. And so you even think about that from a holistic standpoint. And after that work, my appetite and everything felt more regulated. But that is holistic because if I'm not getting the nutrients into my body, or if there's a blockage, or even
Yeah.
detoxes, if the liver's not clean and you're not able to absorb all of those nutrients, it may show up in your skin or your hair or your nails or other places. And that's kind of how I think about it holistically.
1,000%. Everything is connected. I can't even say it enough, right? Like acupuncture and facial mapping, all of these things are to move your life force, your chi energy or chi through the body and flow as it's meant to so that your body can do what it is made to do. Like it's all supporting the natural processes of your body. And that in itself shows up, right? Like usually the last place it shows up is in our skin. It's the same thing as when with our menstrual cycles. Our menstrual cycle is connected to six major processes in the body. So when you have an imbalance somewhere else, it's going to show up in your cycle last. It's like this, it's like a way of telling us that something is off in our body. And so when you have, crazy high, strong PMS symptoms, crazy mood swings, all of the things that can be associated with PMS, um, breakouts, all of those, it's an imbalance somewhere in the body. And so it's really, yeah, it's super, super important. So you mentioned spirit, and that's the last aspect of this kind of multi-layered conversation of beauty. And again, like it's subtle and it's powerful and it's connecting us to something outside of ourselves, to something greater than ourselves, whether it's a sense of purpose or it's a practice that you have, or it's a connection to something in nature or with other people, it's your relationships. But ultimately, that spirit aspect of beauty is bringing out that inner glow, the inner radiance. And I put in my notes that it's hard to define, but it's impossible to ignore. And I think of like Audrey Hepburn's quotes, and I don't even remember, but she says something about, the happiest girls are the prettiest. And, you could say that about any of the happiest humans, right? But there is that undeniable glow when someone just feels so good in their body. They feel um, accepting of just everything that they come to the table with, whether I always like use flaws with quotations because I think it's such a, I don't know, arbitrary word to say flaws, but it's true. When we can kind of really flow with all of that, there's something so undeniably beautiful and radiant about that there is no product, there is nothing that is going to give you that feeling. So what else in terms of spirit? Yeah, okay. So I think again, like I mentioned beauty rituals, and to me, the beauty rituals have really evolved from and it's funny, like it could be doing the same things, but the approach and the mindset evolves of like, I'm doing this skincare ritual because I want to have anti-aging versus I'm doing this skincare ritual. It's grounding. I'm taking care of myself. I'm loving on myself. Like, what a shift. It feels so good. It becomes less about trying to counteract the natural flow of life. We're getting older. It's like, I'm not Benjamin Button. Like, we are truly. And just learning to accept and embrace
Yeah.
all of the different stages in our life. There's something so beautiful about that. But when I do my skincare, it really is about it's an act of love. It is exactly that. And that ties to the mind so much as it does to the spirit of like I'm taking care of myself.
Well, and I think about Anna Victoria, who is a fitness person that I followed forever in her program, and it's the first time I ever heard strong over skinny. And to me, that
Mm,
was the strong is that taking care of yourself because being strong is going to allow me to do the things I want in life and is going to help me to maintain life. I mean, my dad has had some health issues recently, and I just kind of said to him, like, I don't know another 74-year-old who probably could have gotten through these things. And he just said that's why I always kept up with my fitness was because I wanted to be strong. And I think because my body is so strong, I can get through this. And there's so many examples there, but for me, when I shifted that mentality, I saw my strength really increase and I did slim down. And it was so, all of these years, I was just trying to be skinny and it was so counterintuitive. And as soon as I got that mindset of like, no, I just want to be strong. And that to me was kind of a mentality too of this holistic because I'm taking care of myself so that I can be healthy, so I can do the things that I want, so I can show up for the people, mentally, physically, in all of the ways that I want to.
yeah. I love that. Well, and I mean, literally, when you have like a strong, consistent practice, whether it's working out or whatever, taking care of your body, to me, that's mental. That is so mental. It's resilience, it's discipline. And what comes out of discipline is just such freedom from, from having that. And so, super, super important. And I think, we haven't talked about some of the like more tangible things when it comes to whether it's spirit or mind, body, but things like, meditation, breath work, whatever the practice is that connects you to your own center of power. To me, that is the key to so much beauty on the outside and on the inside. And so like, and it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be complicated. I have like so pared down my morning practice to just be as easy as possible. And if I wake up and I'm like, okay, what will my highest self do today? Okay, she's going to breathe for a couple minutes. Oh, she's going to water her plants and not neglect them. Like she's going to do her skincare this morning and just give her a few, give a few extra minutes. Like those are ways that I connect to my sense of power. And it's like, again, it's like taking a few minutes to just reconnect with yourself can alter your entire day. It can shift and it can be that ripple effect from like your mindset because now it's not about like it may start out as this practice of the habit of asking yourself, what can you do for how can you take care of yourself today? What is the one small, tiny habit that you can do today? And letting that be enough. But I think that in itself is super yeah, it's super empowering to give yourself those few minutes to take that time for yourself.
Well, all the time you're investing in that. Robin Arizona and Peloton always says self-care is not selfish, and it's something that I've really has become a mantra for me. And so whether it's a couple of minutes of breathing and meditation, whether it's a facial routine at the end of the night, or anytime you're dedicating or working out, that's just self-care. And you're just telling the universe and telling your soul that you are worth being taken care of. And I think ultimately that circles back to self-worth, which when you have self-worth, it brings confidence, which makes you feel beautiful.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the things, I had put in this blog, I wrote a blog about, this exact topic, but just maybe more in detail of some of the pillars of holistic beauty. And again, there is like no definitive source of holistic beauty, by the way. And I am not the definitive source, but I did, kind of have some really interesting pillars. And the first one is the mind, body, spirit connection, nutrition as a foundation, hydration and detoxification. I talk about clean and natural beauty, meaning like non-toxic products. So just going through all of those products that you may have that have, hormone disruptors, that in itself is going to, I mean, probably most things out on the shelves right now are just chock full of synthetic ingredients and what that does. So thinking about hormone disruptors like parabens, phthalates, I can't say it. These mess with your hormones, your endocrine system, and this is what causes premature aging as well. So thinking about just purely the products, which is why I love to talk about.
Which is so ironic. The things you're trying to do to make you
Right.
look younger are actually making you age quicker.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me on this soapbox, but again, it's like looking in European countries, what ingredients are allowed to be in skincare products versus what's allowed in the US. I mean, we are just free for all. But self-care is one of the pillars of holistic beauty for me, exercise, physical activity. And lastly, it's like natural aging, literally letting yourself look your age or letting yourself just evolve, right? Like I've seen so many women in their 40s and 50s, like celebrities now saying, like, I've seen this come across my radar maybe a few times in the last year or so of women just saying, like, I'm 45. I don't want to look 25 anymore because I'm not 25. And I think it's really awesome to see so many beautiful women and again, talk about mental, the mind aspect. To me, I'm always looking for women who are older, who look confident and love who they are at that age, no matter what they've done or haven't done,
Yeah,
I don't care about
totally.
all that. But but truly like because to me that's inspiring. That gives me a role model of someone who's aging naturally and gracefully in whatever way. But again, like to me, that comes to when we're talking about spirit, that to me is like inner glow, but it's also your aura. Like we forget that the aura is this, we can't, maybe some people can see it, but we don't see it, but it's so penetrating and it's so potent. It can be, anyways, when it is clear and vibrant. And that in itself to me is like a huge aspect of beauty. Um, I had this thing and it's not in our outline, but it was from my blog and it was like 6 ways emotional and mental well-being can influence your looks. And it's really interesting. So, like, I'll just run through it really quickly. So, one is so emotional and mental well-being, how it directly impacts your look. So, the first one, of course, is your skin health. So, when we are stressed, our cortisol levels are raised. So, that can look like acne, that can look like slower healing time on your skin, so slower regenerating on your skin's natural processes. Whereas like positive emotions, mental well-being, um, really do directly correlate, and there are studies to clearer and healthier complexion. The other one is aging and wrinkles. So stress and negative emotions can accelerate the aging process and break down your skin's collagen and elastin production. Your hair health. So, stress can cause hair problems like loss, thinning, graying. It also can affect just the overall, like you can tell when someone's hair looks really vibrant. That can be directly correlated to stress. It's not the only factor, but we're just talking about beauty here. Your eyes and your complexion. So, of course, we're thinking dark circles, dull skin, because those are directly related to things like restful sleep, inner peace. And the last two are your posture and your body language. So, our emotions influence how we carry ourselves, how we express ourselves through body language. And so, you can notice things like what is confidence?
Every time you talk about body posture, I'm like sitting back up straight. I'm like, I hear you.
Yeah. But it's true, right? Like upright
Fair.
posture. When we're feeling sad, when we're down, or we have low self-esteem, we can be slouched or our body language is closed off. It's like when we're those body language signals or those cues, those nonverbal cues of when you're nervous, you have anxiety or stress, we're touching ourselves, we're fidgeting, all the things. And the last thing is your glow and your aura, which I said, inner peace. And is is magnetic. And to me, like beauty is just as intertwined with magnetism. And we know that magnetism can easily be tied to conversations of authenticity, alignment, manifestation, and all of those things, but outside of just the physical. Did I, did we go through the mind, body, spirit okay?
Yeah.
Does it tie to beauty? I mean, it totally does, but
Yeah, I think it's what happens is I think when we automatically think about beauty, we think about the external. And
a thousand
well, I don't
percent.
want to say we. I would say I, but
No, it's true though. It's true.
yeah, I think we hit on all of that. And again, I just want to plug your Substack again, Michelle. Put it in
Yeah.
the show notes because for me, what I've really gained out of our friendship and your knowledge, access to new thoughts and things, right? Like even just looking at my makeup, just looking at the ingredients. I
Hmm.
know, while I haven't started cupping yet, facial cupping, you have examples on there where it's literally a link to a tutorial of how to do that. And so
Yeah.
I would just really, if you are looking at more holistic beauty practices and starting to incorporate those, I will really hardcore plug your Substack. And if there's
Yeah.
nothing else, I would love to get into our self-love check-in for the day.
For sure. Yeah, and we'll plug all of those things because I do link a lot of other resources for other experts. I love sharing other people what they're doing and like you said, like all of the actual practices. If you want real tangible resources and practices like gua sha, facial massage, things that I personally like, I'll tell you, like my daily beauty rituals are dry brushing. I dry brush my body, I dry brush my face. That's internal, that's moving, that's lymphatic drainage as well. I do gua sha, I do facial cupping, all those lovely things. I love it. And they're all, like I said, super grounding. It's freaking self-love, truly. I feel like I am just super loving on myself and I and it doesn't take a lot of time. But if you're looking for the more specific resources, definitely I've got my blog and I've got my Substack with lots of cool. I also share like TED
Mhm.
Talks from, beauty queens and people who break down the societal programming and the cultural programming and things like that within the beauty industry and in the world. I think all of that is super, super fascinating. So if you like to geek out on that or you just want resources, we'll put that in there. But yeah, did you ask the self-love check-in or did I just bypass that? Oh, I'll ask you. What makes you feel most beautiful inside and out?
I think for me, it's always just been body movement. I think that's the big thing now
Mm-hmm.
is when I feel really strong after a workout. Specifically, I will say when I'm by myself and don't want to work out or know that no one's watching and I'm not in a class and I'm not in competition. Really, just the body movement makes me feel really strong, really empowered, and really beautiful. I think it pulls in really that mind, body, and spirit for me holistically. And I think also lately, just letting myself have self-care practices really makes me feel most
Yeah,
beautiful because it allows me to just like some of that stuff, just feeling pampered and allowing myself to do the thing and take the time to do it and invest in the self-care really helps me feel most beautiful. What about you? So what
yeah.
makes you feel most beautiful inside and out?
It's totally my mood. It's so mental. Because I always think about, I can think of many instances where I am looking in the mirror in the bathroom, and there are days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, you look cute, like you look beautiful, right? And I try to do this with no makeup on, and also there are days where I don't think that or feel that, and I look exactly the same as I did the days that I did, right? Like
Yeah.
not much has changed. And it's so related to my mood and how I'm feeling, and which is why I think that mental emotional aspect is just vital because I'm literally a person who has all the beauty. I have tried all the things. I've tried, there's not, I mean, there's a lot out there, but there's not many of the major brands out there that I haven't at least tried or services. I have the devices. I mean, I do micro and nano current facials on myself at home with my zip and so all the things aside, it doesn't matter if I don't feel it in my body and my mind, if I don't feel good. And that is the practice. Like that is something I work on every single day of like, and I think the mirror exercises that we were doing together for a minute there, that's such a beautiful way to open the door to just paying attention to the way you look at yourself and you talk to yourself. But it is so mood. There are so many times where I just walk past the mirror and I don't have any thoughts. And then there are days and you start to pay attention to it. You notice it and you're like, oh, yeah, I see. Like, I just feel freaking good today. I got up, I put music on, I danced. And then I looked at myself and I was like, oh, you're cute. You're real cute, right? Like, it's so mental
Yeah.
and it's so emotional, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's how I feel so, so much. And that sounds like I'm like bypassing, but it's just, or I mean, I don't think it does, but I think for the person that might be like, okay, Michelle, that's so nice for you. Um, lovely for you. It's true, and it didn't happen overnight.
Well, and I think the thing is well, what was also coming up is true processor here when it's like what makes you feel most beautiful inside and out. For me too, clothing and fashion.
Yeah.
It's why they say like invest in workout clothes that you feel people is aren't there studies where people who feel good in the clothes they're working out with actually have better, stronger workouts, right? Like quote unquote better and stronger because you're
I don't
feeling
know that, but
good.
that makes a lot of sense. That's cool.
And for me, I was thinking about that where I was like, when do I really feel most beautiful inside and out? And for me, like clothes is such an outlet for my
Yeah.
creativity and allows me to really feel like that tastemaker and to kind of stand out. And,
Yeah.
um, you know, I really love I love putting clothes together, and I think that where I'm at now is I'm just trying to like balance that with like consuming too much, but also knowing, and I think that that should just be another message that we highlight here as well, is really, we're not here to say like shame. And, you know, if you're using the products that have chemicals in them, it's not shame on you. If, you know, you're buying clothes because that's what makes you feel beautiful, great. You know, if you're getting plastic surgery, if you're doing all of the things, do you, boo? We're not here to tell you not to. But
Yeah.
I think when I think about holistic beauty, it's, am I getting the procedure? Am I getting the thing? Am I buying the thing to get external validation that I'm enough, that I'm beautiful, that it's these things? What
Yeah.
we're offering
Yeah.
is just a different perspective on how you might view beauty, because I do think, and I can be very confident in saying this, I think personally, I've found a lot of extra mental space when I've started to really focus on a more holistic beauty approach, because I'm not as fixated on all of the quote unquote flaws.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they can live in the same space. The holistic beauty conversation doesn't negate anything else. It's just something that it's like truly like supporting all of the other things that you could be doing. Like they can really live together. Cool. Well, this is really fun.
Thank you for your expertise. I was really looking forward to this episode so that we could put a spotlight on you and all of the gifts that you bring and the knowledge that you bring into this space. So until next time, Karmic Mirror, be true, be beautiful, and whatever your definition is to yourself. Until next
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in. If you resonate with today's conversation, connect with us on Instagram at Karmic Mirror Podcast and send us a message.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen. And if you're loving Karmic Mirror, we'd appreciate a glowing review or share with someone who could benefit.
As we close, remember, life is not a one-size-fits-all approach. How are you honoring your unique path? Stay curious and always be kind to yourself. Until next time on Karmic Mirror.